Welcome to Revit 2019 Demo 9. We're going to get started here. If I come over to this Models tab, which in your Revit it'll be Projects tab, I'm going to hit Open. It's going to open up a model file. I'm going to navigate to where I saved Demo 8, and I'm going to open up Demo 8. So we're going to go to Gallatin College here, Revit 1, Demos, Demo 8. So I'm going to open that one up. So this is a fun one. This is about interior elevations. We're going to start by making some interior elevations in a room. We're going to focus on this room right here primarily. So if you go up to the View pull down or the View tab, it's going to open up this view. We're going to select Elevation, Elevation, and I'm going to go ahead and place it. Notice that it defaults to Building Elevation. We want to select Interior Elevation. So that's a type of the tag. So as I get closer to walls, it snaps to those walls. That's built into the functionality of the family. We'll learn a little bit more about this later, but it's a little bit beyond this extent of this current lecture. And we're going to place this interior elevation inside of a room. So I'm going to place it right here to face this wall. And I'm going to hit Escape. You'll notice as you near a wall with the marker points to that wall. Pick a wall of your choice so that the marker points to it. Notice that a new interior elevation is created in the project browser under elevations. So under elevations here, I have this new one under interior elevation that is labeled elevation 1A. That lines up with this elevation 1A. Now if I double click in the browser on this elevation, it's going to open up and I'll be able to see what the inside of that room looks like. So you can see that that interior elevation is in there. Notice that the crop box can be adjusted, so I can highlight that box and click and drag it, and it'll update to show me a different portion of the window. What's important about that is I'm just dragging that box to show that value. Now, conventionally in an interior elevation, you're only going to want to show what you can see from within the extents of the room. So just understand that. I wouldn't actually want to see these edges. I'd only want to see this profile line here. Now I can edit the crop of this, so I can actually edit what this appears like. So I can come in here and actually change the crop region so that it looks just like this. I'm going to hit TR to trim, and I'm going to trim each edge to line up so that I'm only seeing the inside of this view of this room. And I'm going to hit finish, and you'll notice that it's showing me just the inside. Now because the crop box isn't all the way up, that's why it's not appearing correctly. You'll notice this little error that shows up as I dragged that. It says crop area sketch can either be empty or include one closed not self-intersecting loop. So what happened is I pulled it too far and these two lines intersected and therefore it didn't work. So what I could do is I could actually edit that crop again, trim this line to this line and delete this line. And now I've got that view shown the way that I want. I could then come in here and actually delete that ceiling out, and then that would be accurate. I could also adjust the height of this window in this view, so I can actually come in and adjust values. Because Revit is that database, you're going to see those changes reflect in the 3D view as well. In this particular view, I have the roof hidden, so I'm going to go ahead and just unhide these elements. So if I right-click Unhide and View Category, those are unhidden. Turn the light bulb off. There we go. Go back to the elevation, adjust this value just a bit. We'll go to 8'6", and we'll continue on. So if we go back to level 1, level 1, we'll notice that this elevation's here. Now notice that when I selected this, I have this line and this grip. This grip adjusts the view range, so if I were to put it in here and double click, I'm not going to see that wall or that window. So I can go back into level 1, select that, and drag that out. And now if I go back in by double clicking the head or double clicking it here in the project browser, I can now adjust those values and see that wall again. So the importance of that is understanding that as values are changing, it's going to update your Revit model. I can also change the extents of this, but because I edited the profile, it's probably not going to let me drag that. So that's the reason for not being able to adjust the left and right. But if I were to go back into here and reset the crop region and go back to level 1, I believe now I can adjust those values. Yeah, I can. So what that's going to allow me to do is actually see the outside. Now this functions a little bit more like a section, so that's not what I want to do. What I want to do is only see the inside. So if I select this and undo a couple times, or come up here and remove that crop area, it'll put it back to where it was, where I had it edited correctly. And so then when I go back in, it's adjusted correctly. So one thing that's important is that when we place this on a sheet, we're going to create a new sheet. We're going to grab a D-size sheet to match our other sheets. I'm going to change the number to A701 because that's what the value inside of the assignment is selected as. And I'm going to change this to int elevations, which is just interior elevations. It's abbreviated. And then from here, I'm just going to drag from my project browser that elevation view onto the sheet. Now the view that it came in at was 3/16. I'd probably want something more along the lines of, say, a half for this size sheet. That's all dependent on what we're drawing or what are the requirements within the checklist. But for now, we'll go ahead and leave it at a 1/2 inch. We'll go back to level 1. So when I go back to level 1, you'll notice that there's some information in the elevation symbol. I can actually turn these on simultaneously as well, and then I get more of a diamond shape. And what you'll notice is that these elevation tags are labeling, but it's also creating those elevations as we check those. So notice that it changed to that diamond shape. You'll notice that there's those blue check boxes. You can check them to set up more elevations. So go ahead and check them all. As you are checking them, notice in the browser on the left under elevations that new elevations are being formed, like we had mentioned. And so those are in there. I can adjust these values so I can name them different things if I want to, or I can also adjust the view name here as well. Now, one thing we're going to want to do is the floor plan's a little cluttered right now, so we're going to go into Manage, and we're going to hit Additional Settings, and we're going to go to Elevation Tags. And under elevation tags, we're going to switch to a 1/2 inch circle. Now it's set to filled right now with the view name, but we really want to just change it to filled arrow and hit OK. And now what you'll notice is that we have a 1, a dash, a dash, and a dash. And what that is those views aren't placed on sheets. Now, conventionally, an interior elevation will only show black if it is not placed on a sheet, so we'll want to adjust that at some point as well. But we're going to be placing these on sheets anyways, so let's go ahead and do that. If I go to A701, if I hit this little plus sign, you'll notice that I have elevation and then the name. And now what we want to do is we want to drop elevation 1B, and notice I'm just aligning the view title to the correct view title. This came in at a scale of 1/2 inch, so it remembered the 1/2 inch from there. I actually want to adjust these so that I can fit the other views on sheets, but for now I'm going to just slide these over and continue placing them. So if I grab 1C, 1C comes over. Notice this horizontal line. That horizontal line is aligning the floor pack or the floor line to the other floor line. It is not adjusting the view title, so you'll have to go in and do that. Now these are a little bit too large. They're not the right size. So if I double click in, I can actually change the scale right here. I can change it down to a 1/4 inch. So we'll just bump these down. I'm double clicking out, double clicking in, changing this from the bottom left to a 1/4 inch. Now they're almost too small, but we'll see how it looks once I get some more on the sheet. I want to make sure that when I select the view that I'm dragging this grip to be the size of the extents of the crop region. And the reason I'm doing that is because it tidies up the drawings and it ensures that when I put other views on here, it's not going to conflict. So 1D needs to go on here as well. 1D comes in. I'm trying to align it horizontally. It's not working right now because it's too close to the other view title. So I'm just going to place it here for now. And what you'll notice is that this one's also large. So if I look, it's at a 1/2 inch. I can double click in, change that one down to a 1/4 inch. And that's just going to help size it and scale it. And now it's going to horizontally align. So once that's horizontally aligned, those are vertically aligned. This is tidied down. You'll notice that I can start to understand where these are placed on the sheet and kind of what works. Now, continuing on, we're going to go to the level 1 On level 1, you're going to notice that now these are automatically filled out. If I were to delete this, you'll notice that 1B will be deleted and it'll clear that. That's not an optimal way to do this, but it is a possibility. It's just going to create a new view every time you create a new one. So I don't recommend deleting them from here. I'd prefer that you all delete them from the left project browser. It's just tidier that way. So if I delete number 2, notice that it clears up and it eliminates that because that's no longer a view. So just understand that. That's a little bit better. It looks nicer. You can drag the other 3 interior elevations on the sheet like we did. And that is the whole Revit's database being updated. It's all tied together. If you add content later, everything updates automatically. So we can test that really quick by just inserting and loading a family. We'll go down to furniture and we'll pull in a TV stand. And when I pull in the TV stand, I can then hit CM, which is component, and I can hit spacebar a few times to place it. And so if I place that right here against the wall just slightly, load in another family real quick. We're going to load in the flat screen, hit CM, which is component, drag a drop down. I actually placed a dresser here, so pay attention to what you're placing. That was my mistake. If you hit CM and drop your element slider here, we'll look for that piece of furniture, which was the TV stand. I knew it looked a little bit funny. So when we place this, we can place this roughly up against the wall here. I can double click into the interior elevation and take a look and see that TV stand. I can go back to level 1, go back to CM, which is component. Once I have component selected, I can then choose what size TV I want. I'm going to go big. I'll do a 50-inch. And then when I double click on here, you'll notice that the elevation that the TV came in was at 0 feet. What I can do is actually type in MV, which activates the move command, and I can move that TV up so that it's on top of that unit. So you can see that now it's in the correct location. Another thing to note is that when I go to the 3D view up here, if I were to hide this element by category and rotate around, my furniture is showing up. So I actually do have the TV stand in here. I believe it's backwards though. So if you go back to level 1, and that's the confusing part on some of these families, is it won't directly tell you what direction it is. But what I did is I simply typed in RO, selected the family, hit spacebar, which activates the command, typed in 180 degrees, which isn't letting me do it until I click first. So I'm clicking and then dragging, typing in 180, and now it's flipped. I could have also mirrored that, so I could have came up here and hit the mirror command, unchecked copy, and then highlighted a center point of either the TV stand or the TV itself. I'm just going to click here, and you'll notice that it flips it around for me. When I go back to 3D, you'll notice as well that the TV stand looks much better. It's facing the wall correctly. It's kind of in an odd location with that bed there, but we can adjust that later. But for the extent of this, that gets the point across that things are updating automatically. So when I go back down to A701 and I zoom in, it's automatically drawn on the sheet for me. So that's really nice. So in this exercise, you've learned how section and elevation annotations work, going to a view from the annotation symbol, creating an interior elevation, and how the browser updates intelligently as views are created. So go ahead and save this exercise as revit2019. So I'm just going to come up here, save as project revit2019. And hit save, and that is the extent of demo 9.